Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Untapped Podcast. My name is Jacob Gabel.
And my name is Jacob Wurtz, guys. Welcome to episode 117. If this is your first time joining us for the Untapped Podcast, first of all, thank you. We're thrilled to have you here with us. We've actually got 5 main formats of our show. First, we have Forging Fortitude episodes. Now, in these episodes, we cover the mental side of our brand. So we go over our anecdotal experiences with things like mindset and mentality. We then pass on tips and advice to you guys to then apply to your own lives. Next, and this is what we have today, we have physical vitality episodes. Now, in these episodes, we cover the physical side of our brand. So we go over everything to do with the gym, fitness, nutrition, diet, supplements, fitness programs like 75 Hard. We have someone in the room that just completed it. Sometimes we will even take trending topics or articles within the fitness industry, and we will give our thoughts and opinions on those. Those are really, really great episodes full of free game. That's also where we get to showcase our expertise because you have 2 certified personal trainers here.
Yes, sir, we do. Guys, we also have Untapped Training as a part of that as well. So Untapped Training has anything from one-on-one training online, monthly subscription, anything from programming as well. So you guys have questions there, let us know and we can help out there. Now, our third format is our breaking news format. That is a current event-based format. We go over current events and articles going on in the world. We discuss if it's important to doom and gloom or freak out over. We discuss like last week, we talked about TikTok a little bit, if there was a little bit of a mystery shrouding it, which we discussed that it was, of course. Now, our fourth format, taking a little bit of time there on that one, trying the JT pause out some more here, guys. If you don't know what that is, ask us. But fourth format is our Knights Table format. That is a masculinity-based format. Now, keep in mind, I'm 25. Wurtz is 25. Mitch is 23. We're not going to come to you telling you we're the perfect man. The only perfect man and example to ever exist of that is Jesus Christ. We discuss fatherhood in those. We discuss the impact it's had on our lives, the impact good masculinity can really have on the world, and we hammer on that a lot. We really think that's a large portion of the reason we're in the position we're in now. Now, our fifth format is our guest format. The guest format is when we sit down with an entrepreneur, fitness professional, athlete, doctor, somebody with a great story or great value to bring you as well. Those episodes are a ton of fun for us because usually it's one of our good friends as well who can bring you a lot of value, and we end up having a really great conversation, bringing some good value to you guys. Now, our last thing to introduce is our producer and my brother, Mitchell Gabel.
What's up, guys?
The one and only Money Mitch.
The one and only.
Did you know what I was just thinking about? I don't know why, but as you were giving your part of the intro here, just one of our funniest moments together.
Oh, no.
Golfing.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Okay.
And geese.
Yep. It just popped in your head?
Yeah, I don't know why. I honestly don't know why.
That one will every once in a while pop into my head, too, as well.
You can't help but laugh.
The thing is, though, I think we have, videos of that day on camera somewhere.
Probably.
I'm pretty sure we had some of it, on some kind of camcorder. We had
GoPro.
It was a GoPro. That's right. That's what it was, yeah. And we have it buried in the archives somewhere that people can use for future reference.
I think we should run through that story real quick.
100%.
Yeah.
So, as you guys know, Wurtz and I are PGA golfers.
Obviously.
The best golfers.
It's kind of our hidden talent.
Yeah, definitely, for sure, our hidden talent. Definitely don't slice drives. Definitely, definitely don't miss 5-foot putts. Nothing like that.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I would never do something like that. But essentially, we were at a local course around the area, which is actually a really fun and great course. They have night runs and stuff like that too, which is cool.
Play under the lights.
Yeah, it's
Very
awesome.
Cool.
But we were going, and was this day the rainy day too? Same day?
I think so. It was just a crappy day. It was late fall. It was 45, windy, misting. We were like, hey, this is a great day to go golfing. Yeah.
I don't know what we were thinking about it. It was insane. But
I remember we would drive hole to hole and just get pelted the entire time by that annoying mist. It's so.
Oh man, that was the thing is though is actually still a ton of fun just because it was us two goofing off the entire time.
Yes.
I think we had a couple Mick Ultras, the usual that type of thing.
Don't drink.
No, you're right. We don't drink. That's true. Sorry.
Yeah.
Don't drink alcohol. But we're driving along. I think it was hole 3 or hole 4, literally.
Very early.
And this geese takes a dump.
Goose.
Geese. Wow. Yeah, you're right.
Goose.
That's plural. Vocab. This goose takes a dump right on the top of our golf cart. I mean, I'm talking.
I'm up on the tee box too.
Yes, you're on the tee box ready to go, and I'm trying to pull my club out to get ready, and it takes a dump on top of the golf cart. I'm talking literally 3 inches from my head,
bro, and it was a freaking pile.
This dude unleashed
I don't
on
know
our golf cart.
how a goose can hold that much inside.
No,
of
I
it.
don't either. I was a little
impressive.
lost by it for sure. And just talking about like Air Force, U.S. Air Force coming in, full
B-2 bomber.
full napalm drop on us. Yeah, B-2 bomber. And I literally grabbed my club and I'm like, I'm going to hunt down every goose on this course right now.
So again, I'm up on the tee box and I hear it happen. And I look up and you look at me and you go, that thing almost just shit on my head. I mean, guys, you could hear it. Like it was
smacked
very.
the top of it. Yeah, just buried the top of the golf cart. I'm surprised it didn't go through the roof of the thing. Honestly, it was a hellfire strike. There's no doubt about it.
So now we have a vengeance to go
100%.
complete
Yeah.
at that course.
Yeah.
The geese.
Yeah, the geese of that course are mortal enemies.
Yes.
It's not even just the government. Like it's like the geese of that, and then the government after
Well,
that.
and birds are a part of the government.
True. Yeah, birds aren't real.
We need glasses. Yeah. I don't know. It's just that story popped in my head. I'm like, this will be a good laugh.
Oh yeah. That's a good way to ease into the episode there
Yes.
because it's still one of the funniest events we've ever had together
And
by far.
we 100% need to do a golfing vlog.
Oh yeah.
It would be hilarious.
Yeah, we got to find the film of that somehow too. It's probably dog shit quality, but but whatever. Yeah.
Can't be worse than an iPad recording the
Oh
podcast.
gosh, no. Again, sorry, early listeners and early viewers. Apologies for that one.
Oh,
but
so bad.
we did our best.
We did what we could. We did what we could. So, anyway, guys, like I mentioned, we have a physical vitality episode for you guys today. This one's going to be really full of just personal stories from us about some different mistakes we've made through our fitness journeys and our fitness life.
Yeah.
Just some things that we've done throughout it and throughout the last few years. Things that I'm sure you guys have made these mistakes as well. But we want to help you prevent doing these things as well, you know, and in any kind of lifelong journey, such as fitness, because I think I said it a long time ago in an episode, but the moment you start on a fitness journey, you're signing a lifelong contract.
Yes.
You know, that's something that if you're going to start it, there's no end to it. You know, it's something that's going to forever evolve throughout your life, different phases. You're going to have different physiques. You know, you're going to have peaks, valleys, all those things. But you're going to make mistakes, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't even know you're making a mistake, and sometimes it's just due to not having the education on it or, you know, doing what you see other people doing, and that's not always the most effective route for you, you
Right.
know? So I think the number one thing, at least for me, and I'm sure you're going to agree with this, but is just going through the motions at times.
Yeah.
You know, and so there's kind of a, what do they call that? A catch-22 with that, because you're going to have those days where you don't want to go to the gym, you know, you're tired or you're sore or whatever, you know. So there's going to be those days where you don't want to go, and on those days where you still do go and you just kind of go through the motions, that's still a W.
Yeah.
You know.
That's a win of a going through the motions type of day.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. You know, I think it's Jocko. He talks a lot about that kind of a concept or whatever. But in that sense, yes, like you just said, it's still a W of a day of a situation. However, when you're not feeling that way and you are just going through the motions of going to the gym and going through the motions of doing, you know, the same movements, but you're not progressively overloading yourself, you know, meaning increasing the weights or increasing the sets or the reps or whatever it is, you're not making any progress.
Correct.
You know what I mean? You're going to stay stagnant doing that.
Yes. And that's, I mean, I'm glad we put that first because that's probably one of our largest mistakes we've made, for sure with it. And we'll get into more of the, what do you call it, the inner workings of going through the motions and whatnot as we go through here. But I can definitely agree with you there. It's like you'll come in, and even if you're feeling good, there were days where, and still to this day, I'll catch myself doing this where it's like, I'm just at the gym today.
Yeah.
And I have the energy
Right.
to up the intensity, but I'm not doing it.
But you're not doing it.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's almost like a conscious decision. You know what I mean?
100%.
Where it's like, I'm here. I'm actually excited to be here. You know, I feel good being here. You see the people you see at the gym and things like that, but you're just not putting the maximum effort that you could.
Yeah.
You know, and it's a choice. You know what I mean?
It is 100%. And it's an interesting choice because what you can do actually even during the middle of a workout, if you catch yourself like that, let's say the first 2 sets you did of a movement were very lackadaisical. That's when you can turn around
Absolutely.
and actually up the intensity of the next 2 sets of that movement.
Right. And
Or maybe you do an extra set.
Yeah, right. Or, you know, instead of counting those as working sets, be like, nope, okay, those are the warm-up sets. Now we begin.
Exactly.
Now the work begins.
Exactly.
You know?
So there is ways that you can like consciously catch yourself during this.
Definitely.
Because you'll know those days where you're off, especially after you get like 2 years in or even past a year in. Usually you should have enough experience at that point in time to tell what days are what. Because that first year, you're going to have plenty of days where it's like your body is so fried from that early stimulus and whatnot that you're just getting up and going.
Right.
Just to go because you're like, I know this is the habit I need to set right now.
Yeah.
And again, that's a W.
Yes.
Like we talked about. There's a big distinction here between going through the motions and going through the motions and getting into that habit in the first place.
Right.
But as you continue to optimize, it's similar to like people who get on TRT. They call it a life sentence for that too. But if you think about it, you're optimizing your health by doing something like TRT. So you're going to have to continue to optimize your training in the same way.
Yeah.
Because your training's always going to have to be getting better. You're always have to be progressively overloading. You're going to have to go in heavier weight. Whatever it is.
Diet has to be on
Has to be on point.
Yeah.
Especially like as different age factors kick in and whatnot
Definitely.
too, as you start to age along and whatnot. Now, again, I wouldn't say any of us in this room are really at that point when the age has become a factor at all. Which, again, TRT actually helps a lot of times with like 45-year-old men being back to like they were 25.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
But
think-
that's not the point.
I think another way you could catch yourself too is your rest times.
Yes.
Depending on what you're doing in a particular phase, a particular workout, maybe you have some kind of superset built in or whatever. Your rest times might be as little as 0 or 30 seconds. Very, very short rest times. But as we've talked about, there are times where you should have like 2 to 3 minute rest times.
Right.
It's necessary.
Sometimes for those power lifters and whatnot, even up to the 4 to 5 minute
Exactly.
rest times. Yeah.
Now, where we're going to kind of backtrack on that is if you're not a power lifter or you're not in a phase that calls for something like that, you're not giving maximum effort on, front squats or Zercher squats or rear foot elevated split squats or I keep naming lower body movement, bench press, things
Lower
like
body
that.
movements is cool. That's why.
Well, and they require a lot of
They're
exertion.
taxing. Yeah.
Yes,
Very taxing.
yes, if you're doing them correctly, like we're talking about. But if you catch yourself taking 5 or 6 minute rest times, you're checking TikTok or Instagram or emails and things like that in between every single set, you're going through the motions.
Absolutely.
You're not giving the effort that you should be giving, and you wonder why you're not getting results that you want to get. Well, it's like, I can see you over there sitting down on the bench scrolling, and I get it. Like I check my phone at times between sets and whatnot, not every time, but like I do it sometimes. And then I look at my watch. I'm like, okay, it's been 2 minutes, like let's go.
Game time.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Put it away, put your headphones back on and get to work.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
And honestly, the rest times of that like 30 seconds to 2 minute or so, that's honestly for a lot of the population, that's pretty beneficial because, and the reason I say this is because now I'm not going off of science here. I'm going off entirely of intensity because if you do that 30 seconds to 2 minute rest time or so, you're essentially training yourself to do things with very little rest, hardcore, with hard intensity and whatnot. And that's the idea.
Right.
It's not, I'm not talking about it's optimal for muscle growth and whatnot, because, we could talk about optimal ranges for muscle growth of rest and blah, 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 blah. But the point is that 30 seconds to 2 minutes, that's going to be hard. Because especially if you do a taxing set like a trap bar deadlift or the other 3 movements you just mentioned, that's going to tax your body. And if you set those times of that 30 seconds to 2 minutes after a heavy trap bar deadlift, you go right back into it, it's going to kick your ass.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and again, you're going to have to work your way up to that too. But if you're already, like we were talking about, past that year in, 2 years or so, and you have a good experience with it, you should be attempting things like that, unless you're training for specific events and whatnot.
Right.
That's completely different, of course. But
Absolutely.
like, we're not talking about specific events. We're talking about general population or people that want to tax themselves to a certain degree in like 45 minutes to an hour in a workout or whatever.
Right.
So it's very interesting because going through the motions is what I see most people doing. And another one I see people doing is talking a lot at the gym.
Yeah.
Now, again, we're two friendly dudes. We get caught in a lot of conversations just naturally because we like talking to people. But one thing I've used as a way to not always get caught talking is I'll tell people, hey, I'm not ignoring you. I'm just going to do my set here.
Yeah.
So they can keep talking to me while I'm doing my set.
Right.
And I'm like, hey, I'm at my rest time. Keep talking to me. I'm not going to ignore you and whatnot. After I
Right.
finish this set and go hard on this, I'll talk to you and continue after it too.
Right.
So there's ways to get around it. You don't have to sit there and talk to somebody for 5, 6, 7 minutes or something like that just because you feel like you need to be a nice person.
Right.
You can tell them, hey, I'm not ignoring you. I'm just doing my work still.
100%.
So it's still an option.
Sometimes you might just have to kind of walk away.
100%.
You know what I mean? Like,
100%.
if you're there for the reason you say you are, then just walk away.
100%.
You know what I mean? Which
Yeah.
in the moment you feel like you're being rude and whatnot, but they'll see it's like, okay, I'm interfering with this person's work. I don't want to do that.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
Marcos, the S2 manager at Manchester One, him and I were at Iron Hive a couple weeks ago together at the same time, actually. And him and I were a good example of this. Like, we'd chat for like a minute or a minute and a half and whatnot, and go back to our set.
Yeah.
Chat for a minute and a half here and there, like, go back to our set. So we were very respectful of our time and whatnot,
100%.
too. And that's another thing about being a gym goer is understanding gym culture and gym etiquette with that, too, is understanding people are on a time crunch as well, and or they're trying to optimize their time. So you need to be aware of that, too, with other gym goers if you're a big talker.
Someone might only have 30 or 45 minutes to get it done.
100%.
You know, so if they're not trying to converse with you, then don't take it to heart. My God. They're just trying to get their work done.
They're not.
You know what I mean?
And especially in the gym, like we talked about this, the nicest people we've probably met are in cigar lounges and at the gym.
Yeah.
It's probably those two places. There's probably the nicest people we've ever met at those two places. Again, cigars make sense, just chill, just dudes getting together, like it's awesome environment. Then the gym, same thing. Everybody's trying to get better in there. So everybody's super nice.
Yeah.
And same concept. It's very mentally relaxing to do workouts and whatnot. So understand the etiquette that comes along with it. And nobody's trying to be a dickhead to you just because they might ignore you on a set or something like that.
Right.
You perceive it as ignoring. It's not.
Now there are those people.
Oh,
And
sure.
like, those people suck, so just don't interact with them.
Some people will come in with their hood up and talk about they're a lone wolf or something like that.
Right.
It's like, okay, buddy,
Relax, dude.
Relax, hardo. Yeah. I
exactly.
know your high school girlfriend just broke up with you. It's okay. Like I get it. That happened to me 4 years ago.
It was
and
the love of his life, dude. Why are you roasting him?
There's plenty of other fish in the sea, my friend. My gosh.
Yes.
You're 17 years old and you have your hood up right now, acting like you're Darth Maul or something like that. Like, chill out.
Darth Schwab.
Yeah, Darth Schwab. There you go.
Well, so the next point that kind of goes with going through the motions, and we see a lot of this at really any gym you go to.
Yeah.
This one definitely comes down to not being properly educated, and we can't always fault people on that. You know, not everyone has chosen to go through the education of becoming a trainer, becoming a coach, and things like that. So we can't fault you on that necessarily, but it's also pretty easy to find good, solid information for something to follow. And this point being, we've both done, random workout programs or random workouts day to day, random lifts day to day. And, we've talked a lot about, it's like, if you really want to make progress with your physique, with your strength in a certain body part or whatever, you have to do the same lifts every single week.
It's monotonous.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. But
so is progress, for that matter.
You should be increasing the weight. You should be increasing the sets. You should be increasing or decreasing the reps. There should be changes week to week as far as those things go. But the individual lifts themselves really should not be changing for a minimum of like 4 to 6 weeks. Yep. And usually more than that. So you'll walk in, you'll see a guy, either doing full body every single day, like just going machine to machine.
Yeah.
Or
hitting everything in the gym possible.
Right. Or they'll be doing, I don't even know. They'll do dumbbell bench one week and then they don't touch dumbbell bench the next week. And it's like, how do you expect your chest to get stronger?
Yeah.
Or
just the dumbbell press in general to get stronger.
Yeah, right. But like going from dumbbell bench one week to then only cable flies the next week, like that's not helping you. That's not helping you at all doing what you're wanting to do. So it's just doing those random workouts. And when you're new, like I get it. You got to kind of figure out what you enjoy doing, what works for you. Does something hurt you? We had a client of ours, a close buddy of ours, who we had him doing, I think, I want to say we had him doing Smith machine shoulder presses, maybe.
Yeah, it was.
Something like that. And he has neck and shoulder issues. So we moved him to a dumbbell instead, and he didn't have any issues. You know what I mean?
Or a neutral grip on it or whatever.
Yeah,
whatever
exactly.
you want to talk about. You can change the grips up where it doesn't bother a certain area, that type of stuff.
100%, which is crazy that going from here, those of you on video, going from this grip to maybe this grip could make all the difference.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which is pretty cool.
It's the same thing as like some people that have bicep tendonitis issues or whatever will have better results doing a hammer curl compared to a supinated curl and whatnot, their palm up.
Right.
So it's very little changes that are usually needed.
Exactly.
But you're still doing the same concept to the workout. Even if, especially if you have a trainer, we can adjust those type of things, which is the beauty about having a trainer too.
Absolutely.
Especially if you're not wanting to take the time to look up the knowledge yourself.
Sure.
As well. That's a big part there too. And I want to touch on something too, because I that's a big trend it has been for like however long TikTok's been around. I think it was like what 2019, 2020,
Probably
maybe
somewhere
give or
around there.
take.
Yeah.
Basically, those type of formats of videos, including reels and whatnot, have been around. A pretty big popular trend is I see a lot of influencers and or creators on TikTok, Instagram, Reels, all that. They talk about shocking the body a lot of the times. And so that's what we're talking about, the random workouts and whatnot. Like, yeah, I like to change things up so my body gets different stimulus and whatnot. When in reality, we know what you need, the monotonous work behind it. Now, and I want to make a point here too, a lot of those influencers and younger guys you're seeing that are super jacked, either one, they're on steroids, or so they're going to get growth if they literally pick up a piece of wood.
Yeah, right.
And that's about it from it, essentially.
Their forearms get bigger from writing with a pencil.
Yes. Yeah, literally, though. Yeah. Any type of stimulus to the muscle, it's going to get basically larger. But there's also the option of the hyper responder to lifting. There are some people, and this is a small percentage of the population, it's a lot of the times people you see that post and create fitness content a lot of times, they will literally hyper respond to any type of muscle stimulus. And you got to understand, it's the same concept as an NFL player that is 6'5", 330 pounds. They're naturally going to be gifted towards, quick movements as a D lineman or an O lineman or something like that too. You as a 5'8" white dude are not going to be an offensive lineman in the NFL. It's the same concept.
You would be an anomaly. That's for sure. A 5'8" lineman. Oh my gosh.
There's no way. But the point is like that same concept in athletics applies to lifting too, because there are hyper responders to things now. And then there's the general population that will respond best to monotonous work. And if you're trying to do bodybuilding, a lot of times like stable machine movements help with growth the best there. If you're trying to be an athlete, a lot of times, most time you'll see them do free weight type movements or barbell type movements and whatnot, explosive movements, that type of stuff. So there's going to be
unilateral movements,
exactly
things like that. Yes,
exactly.
Yes.
And like a majority of athletes are going to respond to that, just like a majority of bodybuilders are going to respond to the traditional sit on a machine and do a controlled curl, instead of
and just focusing that one part of the body every single week.
Exactly. Over and over again. That is the 95 to 98 to 99% of the population that's going to respond to that type of stuff.
And that's okay.
Exactly. Yeah. And there's going to be the hyper responders. And so that's what as a population we have to understand. There are genetic freaks out there. 100% there are. And anybody that denies that is just incorrect. That you're training, if you're again a 5'8" white dude, you can definitely get to the NFL as an offensive lineman.
Right.
Okay. Maybe he could be Wes Welker, with some good training and whatnot.
Right.
But he ain't going to be an offensive lineman.
But a guy like that has to work.
Exactly.
And anyone in professional sports still works.
100%.
We saw that, we've seen that firsthand with Matt Adams, but then you can look at a guy like Mahomes, okay? That is a very genetically gifted athlete. If you watch the show Quarterback that he's on with Kirk Cousins and Marcus Mariota, Bobby Stroop, who is Mahomes' personal trainer and has been, I think, since like he was 4 years old.
Yeah, you said it was like since he was a child.
Crazy amount of time, which is sweet. Because that's pretty cool. You have a kid and now he's on top of the world, basically. Like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But Bobby Stroop talks about how they put a lot, and I'm going to get some of this science wrong because I don't completely understand it because I don't do it, but how Mahomes, his spine is so mobilized and it's so strong at the same time. That's why he can scramble either way and still make some of the throws that he does, because he has basically 100% range of motion either way around his spine. What Stroop said was that most people have at least a 20% deficiency in one way or the other. He doesn't. And now they work on that, but that's also something that you were born as.
100%.
You know what I mean? Now, if you're born with it and then you don't work it, you're obviously going to lose it.
Yeah. Well, a good example of Mahomes' training coming into play is like, I believe it was in the Super Bowl with the 49ers, where somebody tackled him and he basically was like bent completely backwards. And his knees were like forward.
Yeah.
That's training backing you up there with a lot of strength in the area.
Most people don't have knees after something like that. I know exactly what you're talking
exactly,
about.
Yeah. And most people probably will recognize that because it was pushed around fitness and whatnot. Sure. And honestly, on Twitter everywhere, because it was such a cool, like seeing him respond to that type of crazy stimulus in his knees and whatnot in a game.
And then you go and look, and they do that type of training. They do the, where you bend over backwards and you go onto your hands as you go down. Like they focus on that. They've got, what is that? I never have known. What's that huge cage called with all the different bars and handles that typically is used for like stretching?
Oh, yes. There's some name for it, but I know what
Yeah.
you're talking about. It's basically like a stretching cage, essentially.
Yeah, that's the easiest way.
Yeah.
But they do all kinds of stuff on that, where Bobby Stroop is pulling on Mahomes in different directions and twisting and all these things. And some of that's maybe just kind of for show in a way.
Sure.
It's like, hey, look what we do with Patrick Mahomes. Like, there's probably some truth to it, and it probably works. Otherwise, they wouldn't be doing it. But like, it's all these non-typical things that they do for an athlete. That was my whole point of this whole thing.
Yeah.
Is that athletes like that are going to be doing different things than a bodybuilder.
Right.
or
And
the general
again,
population.
that's Bobby Stroop relying on Mahomes' strengths too.
Yeah.
His genetic strengths were for a QB.
100%.
Like genetically, they were.
That or maybe a baseball player.
Or maybe a
'Cause
baseball player,
his baseball play is
100%.
actually insane.
Yeah,
too.
because of and his dad's genetics too.
Exactly.
Again, pass that down to him.
Right.
And it's fascinating because people like to talk about how, my hip is this way, my again, T-spine doesn't move a certain way and whatnot too. And there was actually a really good post I saw. I believe it's like the Compound Performance guys. I think it's one of the guys that is a coach through their app, Get Compound. His name's Chaplin Performance on Instagram. Great follow. Former PT, now does like pure training and uses like different methods he learned through PT school. Super cool. He had a great post about everybody is asymmetric. So asymmetrical is basically like you're off kilter. Your body's off kilter. Like, one leg might be shorter than another or whatever fancy terminology you want to use and whatnot.
Right.
But the basic thing is that you should be learning your body and training along with what works for it.
Yeah.
So if you're seeing a bunch of results from bodybuilding training, you're doing really well, and you're a hyper responder to that, good.
Yeah.
Good.
Then do that.
Do it. 100%.
Hammer that.
Yeah. And if you find that's why multi-sport athletes are so important, because it finds what kids are then have proclivities toward and predispositions toward in sports and whatnot.
Sure.
Like, again, Mitchell was very good as he could have gone D1 lacrosse as well, because he was first team All-State when he was younger and whatnot. He had very good center of gravity when he was lower, and he could get low on guys, move them around when he played lacrosse and whatnot, defending them. So, and again, like, my size in hockey reacts really well because I can shrug off, certain plays and whatnot, and maybe somebody that was 150 pounds would got ran over or
Would
something
get
like
tossed
that.
around.
Yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
exactly.
So there's certain predispositions each person has to a certain type of training, sports, all this type of stuff. So you shouldn't be sitting there and being like, why does this guy like just change up his workouts every week and he gets a ton of gains, but I don't? It's like, dude, again, 98% of people are going to respond to the monotonous work week by week by week by week.
And people don't want to hear that because people don't want that.
Because it sounds boring to them.
It sounds boring and it sounds long.
And it's not boring. It's just how our culture's been told about the quick fix.
Exactly.
Let's change this move. You throw this movement in, you're going to be better at jiu-jitsu, or you're going to be better at football.
You'll automatically have six-pack abs.
Yeah. And it's like, no. It's very much so a quick hit culture we live in, and you have to get out of that mindset if you're going to get into fitness. Because like Wurtz said, it's a lifelong commitment. So if you're going to do that, and it's going to be a lifelong commitment, it's going to be monotonous.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to switch up every week and be able to be the top guy unless you're some kind of genetic responder, which again, find that when you're younger, if you're an athlete. And that's why, again, play multiple sports when you're an athlete. Even if the travel team tells you you're going to Cuba and whatever else. Dude, that video was comedy, by the way. It was
super funny.
But it's funny because like that video is a good example of what's killing our kids because it burns them out when they're younger too. There's a possibility if you're playing baseball from 7-8 years old or hockey 7-8 years old, and that's the only sport you're doing year round, you're going to start to hate the sport.
Yeah, and that's the tough thing now is most sports are fully year round.
Yeah.
Especially as you get a little bit older and that's okay as you get into high school and beyond. Like by that point, like older high school, I'm talking like seniors, probably juniors, maybe, and then beyond. For the most part, you should be solely focused on a sport.
And you're specialized.
Yeah, because I guess another caveat would be is if you want to play at the next level in college or some sports you can go from high school to the pros, then you need to put your full effort, full mindset into that single sport. But if you're not prepared to work all year round, and we're not talking, taking ground balls in December. We're talking being in the weight room in December in the off season for baseball, for football, we're talking kind of right now for their off season where you better be in the weight room.
Spring camps. Yeah.
Yes.
All that.
Yes. Yeah. Because, literally like college football, spring football right now is going on. Like it's happening right now. So
Yep.
year round. You might, in most sports, you might have a month off. Quotations very much intended.
Yes.
Because you really aren't going to be off. You're going to be in the weight room. You're going to be working on conditioning, things like that, because that's the time of the year that you do those things. When you're in the off season, that's where you are lifting heavy. That is where you are working on your conditioning and things like that. Then as you progress a little bit in your off season, that's where you do more skill-based training. You might be doing your ground balls, your throwing programs, skating, working on your slap shots or whatever it is, as a goalie, I'm sure there's tons and tons of different things.
So much technique work there.
Yeah, for football, maybe if you're a quarterback, that's when you start working on your throwing. If you're a receiver, that's when you start running routes and working on that. It's all these things. So there's different phases throughout each sport. My point is they're going to start overlapping because of every sport being year-round now. Basketball and baseball overlap every single year from the winter sport to the spring season for high school. Okay, football and basketball overlap.
Yep.
And it's things like that. So it can definitely be taxing on the younger population because they don't ever get a break. They don't get to be kids, and that might affect them.
Right.
Some of them love it. They fully buy in. They are fully into it, and it's awesome to watch. It's very exciting. But not everyone is like that, and not everyone has to be like that. So to your point, yes, that certainly could push kids out of sports. We talked about it, I think, in maybe a couple episodes. I believe this was us talking about it. But the world in general, and especially sports, is highly competitive right now at all ages. I see it in youth baseball because we have teams as young as 8 all the way up to 16 right now as we are growing as a facility and an organization. But even at like the 8 and 9 and 10U level, it is extremely competitive.
Yes.
We're talking national rankings of teams and players, which is so stupid.
Yeah, I was going to say, I knew you have something to say about that. Yeah.
It is, dude. And some of these parents are like fully bought. Like, we're playing the number 7 team in Missouri today. Who cares? Dude, we could have a whole episode of just me talking about that.
Didn't your kid literally just want McDonald's breakfast this morning?
Exactly.
Like, calm down.
Yeah, right. As you get into high school, like, okay, we can maybe start paying attention to some rankings.
Yeah, sure.
That's also someone else's opinion of you. And again, if you're wanting to play college sports, does it help being in the top rankings and having your name out there on social media and all these other things? Sure.
Yep.
It does. I won't act like it doesn't. But when we're 8U to like 14U being 8th graders, and we're talking about the rankings and all this other shit, like, come on.
Yep.
That is why your kids can't focus on the field because they're more worried about who they're playing. And it's the number 3 team, so we're definitely going to lose. It's like, well, guess what? They're the same age as you. If we go out and handle our business, we'll be just fine.
They should have had the same growth development, at least somewhat, compared to you and whatnot.
Right, and some kids grow a little faster. We saw that, like we had plenty of kids in high school that when we were in like 7th and 8th grade, they were freaking monsters. They were physically monsters. They were great at every sport they played, and it was like, oh my gosh, like this guy, he's going to definitely be in the big leagues.
Sure.
And then 2 years later, you forgot his name.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It happens every year. But also, and this is more the competitive side of me coming out when I'm about to say this, if you're playing that number 3 team or whatever it is, like, how do you not see that as an opportunity? You know what I mean? Okay, so they're supposed to the third best team in the country or in the state or whatever.
Right.
You're just going to lay down? You're going to play scared? Like, no,
technically,
dude,
you have nothing to lose.
You absolutely have nothing to lose.
Yeah.
So why not be the team that can beat them? You know what I mean? Or make them nervous at least.
Yep.
Like, damn, okay. We can't just roll in and just win. I don't know. That's the competitive side of me coming out there.
Well, and this all, talking about athletics and whatnot, it all relates to the general population too.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, who doesn't want to train like an athlete still? Everybody idolizes athletes. There's literally 65-year-old dudes who live and breathe for their college team still and whatnot and stuff like that. So it's like, obviously everybody loves what athletes do and whatnot.
Yeah.
So this does relate because you can learn lessons from this in your own training. And again, that's the thing. We talk about this too. The best athletes don't specialize. That every bit of research says that. Mm-hmm. They don't specialize. They just come in and do the work at their multiple sports they're doing, at the multiple weight room sessions or whatever they're doing, that type of stuff.
You're talking like high school?
Even
right
high school.
Yeah.
Especially high school. I mean, these guys, like the best ones that come up, they'll have played 3 or 4 different sports.
Yeah.
They'll played soccer when they're younger. They'll played baseball when they're younger. They'll played hockey. They'll play lacrosse. They'll play whatever.
Basketball. Yeah, whatever.
You name it. And then the same thing, we were talking about how, specialize in high school, and then rankings come out when they're 12 years old now or whatever. In reality, like we were just talking about with growth, puberty hits. And then there are some kids that they're 16 years old, they're 5'10", and they're playing basketball. And then they'll be 6'5" the next year.
Yeah, right.
And all of a sudden they're a prospect now.
Yeah.
So it's a very good lesson in how you thinking that you are going to respond, one, the same as other athletes, but also not just by the only thing that is consistent is the work.
Yeah.
Playing multiple sports and doing the work for young athletes. For the general population, maybe it's like you stick with bodybuilding training for 16 plus weeks or whatever. You have great results from that. You keep going.
Mm-hmm.
You find out that really works for you really well.
Yeah.
Especially the great thing about the first year of training is that you can use that as a discovery method of what you really like to do.
Yes.
And what you respond best to as well.
Yeah.
What gets you in there the most.
Right.
What gets you the most intensity when you're in there too.
Right.
So that's why it's so good to use that, because then you discover and then you can progressively overload from there.
Absolutely.
I discovered I really like Zercher squats. Now they've been in my program every single week and they've been getting better and better every single week.
Crazy how that works.
Exactly. My back feels strong.
Yeah.
My core feels strong. My sciatic nerve hadn't caused me issues in now weeks at this point in time. So I've stuck with it.
Exactly.
So I stuck with what worked for me and whatnot. Same with the athletic stuff. That stuff works really well for us. We're talking about doing a running back program and whatnot. That works really well for us.
I was just about to say that. Like for the past 4 or 5 weeks, I've done a very traditional styled program. Like I'm talking barbell bench, barbell front squats.
Yep. And you respond really well to that.
Responded really well, but I can also feel myself like tightening up. The shoulders are not feeling as good. The knees actually are not feeling as good. And, I've talked about that both on the podcast, off the podcast. Like when I've only done very traditional lifts, like my knees get destroyed. Like I feel very tight. I don't feel as best as I can. I'm not at that point right now, but I can almost feel myself getting to that. And
you might not have the same focus on hip mobility, that type of stuff.
Yeah. Well, especially
internal external rotations that come down.
Yeah,
100%.
Especially when I had first started in fitness, I never stretched. I would roll out as my warm up. Really, I wouldn't do any kind of dynamic movements or
do some light reps of your first sets. And that's it.
Yeah. But now, like I'm working with Brock Wilson, a close friend of ours, trainer here in the St. Louis area, who works with a ton of professional hockey players, including Tarasenko, Barbashev. Those are big names. Those of you in St. Louis, you'll know. He's done some work with Kyron Williams, who is the running back for the Rams, who just had a huge year. Both him and Jeff Lavecchio have both worked with him. He works with Luther Burden, the big receiver come out of Mizzou here, who could very well be a top 5 pick in the draft next year. He works with, who's Mizzou's quarterback?
Brady Cook.
Brady Cook, it's another one. So anyway, I'm working with him right now I got a hold of him. I'm like, listen, dude, I want my next phase. I want to train exactly like an NFL running back. I'm talking the strength, the speed, the agility, the power. Like I want to do it. Yep. I told him, I was like, I want to get that McCaffrey physique, and then I want to give him a run for his money. So just saying, guys, you might catch me playing on Sundays here next year. Just saying. You know what I mean?
I told you should have went back to the MLB.
I'm 25. I'm not banged up like all these other running backs coming out of college.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm fresh. So
you're healthy. Yeah.
It's easy too.
Yeah, you didn't go through D1 college. It's fine.
No, it's easy. You just run behind the big fat dudes in front of you.
You literally just run behind your blocks. That's it. It's easy to be a running back.
It's really not a difficult job. Just don't get hit.
I hope no professional athletes listen to our show, because so many times we call their sports easy. It's just, I hope they don't take us seriously ever.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
it's so funny. But that's just an example. Like I know I respond really well to the bodybuilding style. I also know I respond really well to the athletic style. So that's why I don't go like back and forth like crazy.
Yeah,
but I'm okay with doing both.
You might go back and forth at most every like 20 to 30 weeks.
Yeah.
At most.
Something like that. Yeah. Because I also really enjoy both.
Exactly.
You can't beat the pump
right.
and the physique that you're going to get from a bodybuilding style. You just can't beat it. Athletic is not going to give you that look. It's not going to give you that pump.
Unless you're a hyper responder.
But again, for the most part, you're not going to get those things from that. But from an athletic standpoint, you're going to move really well. You're going to feel really good. Mm-hmm. You're still going to look really good. You're going to look like an athlete. Yep. And who doesn't want to look like an athlete? I mean, seriously.
100%.
Like, you can still look freaking jacked, vascular, hot.
Yeah.
Like,
sexy. Yeah.
Like, seriously, like, you see McCaffrey without a shirt on, you're like, gosh damn, dude. Dude's awesome.
Where are you going with that? Where was I leading?
Hey, man, that's a good-looking dude right there.
No,
like,
he
come
is.
on.
100%. He is.
You know?
Yeah.
Or there's this guy.
And he's a stud, too.
I don't know if he still plays with Miami Marlins or not. Derek Dietrich. He's a big leaguer.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
And he hit a walk-off home run one time. This is a few years ago. So he gets to the plate, and for a while there, it was the thing to like rip off the jersey of the guy that hit the walk-off.
Comedy.
And he was freaking stacked. It's like, I think he had an 8-pack as a baseball player. It's like, damn.
Every chick in the crowd just,
my
gosh.
In Miami, too.
Yeah.
So,
whoa.
yeah.
This pro athlete's jacked.
You just start looking like Braxton Berrios, you get Alex Earl.
Braxton Berrios stud, too.
Yeah, he doesn't really do anything in NFL. He just returns punts. But like
still in the NFL.
Still in the NFL.
Yeah, no, pretty
in
sick.
Miami.
Yeah.
So.
It's decent
dating
gig.
Alex Earl.
Decent gig. Yeah. Yeah. Alex Earl's an okay type of attractive for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Just okay.
Yeah.
Middle of the pack.
That's, let's be honest. The reason I want to train like an NFL running back, I got to steal Haley Steinfeld back from Josh Allen.
That's actually true, though.
Yeah.
We did discuss that a little bit last pod, and how that has to be part of your training program is getting you back to Haley.
And maybe the Bills will sign me, and I will have more total touchdowns than Josh Allen. And she'll be like, oh, well, this dude's
45.
obviously better. Yeah. I'll throw some touchdowns. I'll catch some. I'll even play defense a couple times, get some pick sixes.
Yep.
And then obviously I'm going to rush for 35 touchdowns. So
easily.
break the record.
Easily.
It's fine.
Yeah, no problem at all.
It's easy for me.
Who's LaDainian Tomlinson?
Yeah. Oh, 25 is a record. Okay, well, I beat you by 10, bud. So just so obnoxious right now.
Oh, 100%. Oh, man. These cocky dudes talking about this.
Yes.
It's like, dude, we're just trying to have fun. Chill.
Right.
Gosh.
So, I mean, those are some of our mistakes. Our last point to cover, we kind of already did, and the other two is just not doing enough research. Whether you are or aren't some kind of strength coach. Paying attention to credible sources on social media, on the internet. Not following like WikiHow workouts. If that's how you have to start, I guess that's how you have to start.
Or like Men's Health and whatnot, where they talk about reinventing masculinity and whatnot.
Right.
I saw that in an article from them. I'm like, oh, here we go. Yep, here we go. Reinventing masculinity for the feminist side of things. Okay, stop.
Right.
Yeah.
But following credible sources, listening to those credible sources, buying untapped training, buying a credible person's training. Like I'm being fully serious there too.
100%.
People you can trust.
Ours is very, very fairly priced as well.
100%, and it's also personalized to you.
Exactly.
The only thing that we just have written is our monthly subscription that everyone does the same, and we've seen a lot of good results with that as well. People are excited about that.
Yeah.
It's kind of a hybrid between, I'm not going to say bodybuilding, more power building and athletic. Like you're going to kind of get a taste of both, and it's fun workouts. You know what I mean? But so paying for some training, paying for a program. Again,
not being afraid to talk to people like that is a big thing.
Not being afraid to talk to people, ask questions, things like that. Try to learn. And again, this goes for strength coaches and non-strength coaches, both. Ask people. It's not going to hurt.
Yeah, and it depends how deep you want to go with it too. Because if you just have a basic question, we'll answer that all day long.
Yeah.
But it's like we can only give so in depth before it's like we'd have to spend 8 hours of our own time doing something to help you out and whatnot too. That's where the training comes into play, and we can literally just take the guesswork out for you and whatnot, which is cool. But again, it goes for any other trainers as well. Like you can take the guesswork out with a trainer, and that's the beauty of a strength conditioning professional.
Yeah.
Because one, you can come to them with a lot of it, like ask for a lot of advice. Brock and Jeff both been great to us with that and whatnot, been very free giving with it and all that. And again, like it comes with supporting too. Like,
sure, of course.
It's different. Like if somebody is all they come to me is just questions about strength conditioning and that's it, they don't even like want to chat with me anything more than that. I'm like, this is kind of a weird transactional relationship that you're trying to get out of, and I don't like that at all.
Right.
So if we can both support our stuff all day long, I'll converse back and forth with somebody all day long like that. And again, like there's a reason we put years of knowledge learning into this and actual like full blown classes and knowledge about anatomy and physiology and exercise physiology and psychology and all that stuff that comes along, that there's a reason we put those years in, because we know we can help people that way.
Yeah, right.
So, and that's the thing that goes for any other strength coach you find, is that you have to check if they're actually credible, if they're just putting out new types of workouts just for the clicks of it
Exactly.
and whatnot.
Yeah. No.
Because there's plenty of them that put out just clickbait stuff and that's it. But check out this new way to do a kettlebell while you're spinning around in a circle and throwing it through the roof because
do a
it'll develop
cartwheel.
power and do a cartwheel. And it's like, okay,
Right.
like,
Right.
come on.
While bouncing a foam roller on top of your head.
Yes.
Yeah.
And on top of a stability ball.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
It's
Blindfolded.
Like blindfolded. Yes. 100%. 100%.
I think we need to try and film that. See what happens.
We should. Untapped ring around the rosy, we can call it.
Okay. On that note.
To the Q&A.
Yes. Yes. So guys, at the end of all of our non-Q&A episodes, Money Mitch will ask us a Q&A question that is submitted by you guys, the listeners or the viewers. There's a few different ways that we would like you guys to submit these questions to us. Number one, you can DM them to us on Instagram at untapped.llp. You can also DM them to us individually. You can text them to us individually if you've got our numbers. You can email them to us. You can email them to us at extricationfitness@gmail.com. It's a mouthful. There is an email button on our Instagram. Makes it way easier. You can also leave them in the comments on our Instagram posts or our YouTube videos. So all the podcasts are on YouTube, along with those vlogs we were talking about earlier. Some point here soon, we will get back to making the vlogs. We really enjoy doing those. They're funny. They're educational. We go to local gyms or show some workouts that we do and whatnot. Go on Friday the 13th Rucks.
Yeah.
Haunted by Michael Myers.
Let us know what you guys would like to see with the next vlog.
Yeah,
by the way,
for
too.
sure.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
we already have like a list of suggestions that
do.
we kind of have built up. But again, if you guys want to see something specific,
Yeah. Or if there's
100%.
a local gym that just opened up, you guys should go check this out. Like, let us know. Let us know
100%.
for sure. I love that. And then final way, on Spotify, you can click on the episode, scroll down just a tiny bit. I mean, you barely have to scroll. And then there's a leave Q&A response. You can actually just put them in there as well. So a few different ways you guys can submit the questions to us. They all get brought to Money Mitch. He then picks one out that kind of goes along with the episode. Sometimes they're just random ones. Sometimes they're funny, whatever. But guys, definitely keep those questions coming to us. Money Mitch.
So earlier on, we talked about quick fixes in fitness. We were mentioning that a little bit. What are some fundamental changes people can make instead of those quick fixes?
I like it.
fundamental changes.
It's basically habit changes.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
Like real lifelong commitment type stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Number one would be to get the idea out of your head that it's going to be a cakewalk to lose weight, to gain weight, to have the body you want, to be the healthiest dad you want to be, the healthiest mother you want to be, best, healthiest friend you can be, whatever it is. Get
Best athlete.
best athlete you can be, all that stuff. Get the idea that it's going to be easy out of your head. And I can speak on this. It was just kind of when I first, especially the first 2 to 3 years, probably training. It was at colleges because I was at Iowa State and then MOBAP after that, and it was very just kind of go in there, do what I remember from my classes, and that's about it. With not really much intensity. You know, I was working hard, and again, I responded well to it because it was the first stimulus I'd had with lifting. But I didn't understand until Mr. Lockdown came around in March 2020 how hard I actually needed to train.
Yeah.
And how much weight I needed to train with to see results or really get into that upper echelon percentage of the population and whatnot that you want to get into. But yeah, especially early on, like we'll talk about first 6 months or so, discover what type of fitness you like. First year or so, discover what you like and what you can be consistent with. Then understand it's going to be hard because you're going to want to get better. You should be wanting to get better. You should be wanting to improve. You should be wanting to progressively overload like we spoke on. You should want to go up in weight. You should want to beat out your teammates in events during training and whatnot, or like different sprint events, relay events, that type of stuff, which is always super fun, by the way. Understand it's not going to be easy. I'll do a second one as well. I would say a fundamental change as well is to understand that strength conditioning should be a part of your training. And I mean strength work, I mean like 3 days a week, 2 to 3 days a week at minimum. It should be part of your program. And I always say this too, especially not more than man or woman, but especially if you're a woman, because your guys' bone density needs that stimulus when it comes to strength work. And for that matter, men as well. You guys need that stimulus that comes with lifting weights and putting yourself under stress. It's great for the tendons and ligaments as well. Tendons and ligaments respond so well to being placed under load, which sounds freaky for most people, right?
Yeah.
Actually, that's really how you heal somebody from like a torn ACL a lot of times, is eventually you get past that point of rehab, 2 months in or whatever, and then you start loading the muscle, and it might be painful,
Right.
but it's same thing. Like you're rehabbing the muscle, same thing as somebody starting in fitness. You're going to need to load that stuff to build up tolerance to it as well. So strength conditioning should definitely be a part of that. Those are kind of my two that come off the dome right off the bat.
Yeah. I mean, both of those are fantastic. I think one of them is absolutely finding what you enjoy doing. We just talked a lot on that throughout the episode, but if you are continually doing something that you truly don't like, not that you're going through a period of just, all right, like I'm here, I'm doing it, maybe the good side of the going through the motions, but if you truly don't enjoy what you're doing, then you need to discover what you do enjoy doing so that it keeps you coming back. Something that kind of plays into that is the gym you go to. If it's just always crowded, or it's kind of an obnoxious crowd of people that's there, or it's not your vibe, things like that, then go somewhere else. Introduce new things like going to a field and doing field workouts of just running sprints. Maybe enjoy running. Run then, run 10 miles a week, run 12 miles a week.
Right.
So it's definitely finding what you enjoy so that you can, so the change would be, if you're not enjoying what you're doing, change that, so that you have something that keeps you coming back. We both love the gyms we go to. We've gone to tons of them here in the St. Louis area, tons of them, as a matter of fact. And we're going to continue going to tons of them because it's cool to see other places.
100%.
But the people we see at ours and the owners of the places we go, because we go to local ones that are locally owned, that we know the owners, they know us, things like that. That's part of what keeps us going back to those places, So that certainly matters. And I think it's just throughout your entire life, setting 2, 3, 4 habits that you can hammer every single day, that you're going to go without compromise. You will do them, and Mitch, you just finished 75 hard. So like you fully get that aspect of that. Cause in order to complete the program, you are required to do the same 5 tasks,
Right.
5, I believe. 5 tasks every single day for 2.5 months straight. You have to. Now, the beauty of that program is if you do it correctly and you feel really good, you're going to continue most, if not all of those habits after the 75 days. So that's also something that can help, is doing something like that. We've talked on it. Not everyone needs to start there, nor should you, because you need to have some habits built in already in order to actually be successful in a program like that. So I just, my point is, if your days are random and sporadic and stressful, it's because you don't have any control over what you're doing each day. If you start to get control, if you start to make that change to gain control of your days, you're going to be set up for a pretty good life, week to week, month to month, year to year.
Absolutely.
So I think it's almost in and out of the gym.
Yeah.
That you have to be making those fundamental changes for you to see success in your life.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's awesome, dude. I'm curious on Mitchell's end here. What did you get out of the monotony of 75 hard the second round through? Like, what can you speak on when it comes to it being difficult and having those habits every day built in and ingrained in?
I definitely had more stuff going on this second round. I did it at pretty much the exact same time last year, so basically a year apart. So I definitely had more. I had been promoted a couple times at work. In a relationship now.
No big deal.
Money, Mitch.
Couple of different things. So yeah, that just adds in a lot more time. So necessarily, I had a lot more commitments this time around. So I probably got out of it the ability to do something as soon as possible because I knew something was going to come up. So if I had an hour, I just had to do something then. And no options. That would be the most attractive option that I got, is just doing stuff immediately.
Basically not procrastinating. Yeah. And I think that's, you've failed on that before,
Absolutely.
pushing back reading or a second workout or something like that. So like
100%.
You can almost see the differences there, and that's not a roast of you,
Dude,
but it's a fact. You know what I mean?
It's fact. Yeah. 100%.
And that's why so many people have no control over their lives. And they continually feel anxious and deal with anxiety and stress and confusion, frustration, all those things, is because they don't control anything and they push things away every day.
Right.
It's like if you would take that hour that you have, like Mitch just mentioned, and get that thing done, you're going to feel accomplished. You're going to feel good. You're going to feel satisfied with that, So I think it's a great one. I think it's a great point, Mitch.
And I think it's interesting too, because him talking about like getting things done earlier as well. Like he wasn't afraid. I mean, it literally happened last week where I was getting up early for training some classes. We had a hockey game the night before, and then I was getting up early to train some classes the next morning. And he was like, "Hey, get me up so I can go before before I even start work or have anything going on for the day." So he used the resources around him too.
Definitely.
You can have a friend call you if anything too. I went down there. I'm like, "Hey, Mitch, I'm going now, but you got to get up so you can do your thing now." And he got up and did it. And that's a good example, because then he didn't have to worry about that because he was going to the Blues game later that night, that type of thing. So use your resources as well. You can, if you're not a morning person or whatnot, and you're telling yourself, "I want to go for a 30-minute walk in the morning," have somebody call you, a friend call you or whatever that does get up early, and they do, and you can get up and get moving.
Right. Right.
And the new trend is like the ice bath in the morning for everybody and whatnot, because it's like $80 ice baths everywhere. And I'm like, who knows if they work or not. But, it's like you said, it's not pushing things off because, you want to. You're like, it's a feeling of you want to get things done. And because the procrastinating is what killed me on the 2 times I've failed it. 2 times. Yeah. Where I just pushed off stuff later and later in the day, and the stuff I needed to get done and I had to get done didn't get done because of that.
Right.
So if you conquer those 1 or 2 things, 3 or 4 things, you work your way up, the day gets that much easier.
That's right.
So
yeah.
Well, guys, that is episode 117 of the Untapped podcast. That was a good one. I enjoyed this one a lot. So
agreed.
Guys, if you catch yourself struggling with any of the things that we mentioned throughout this episode, let us know. We will go even more in depth with you. We will get personalized with you. If you have questions about training, please reach out. If you are interested in training, please reach out. We would be more than happy to have you guys on with us, and get you in shape and get you feeling really, really good about yourself physically and mentally. We're very, very excited about our Untapped training. So guys, please do reach out about that. Again, we have multiple options, and we're also willing to work with people as well. If there's something you're wanting and the package maybe includes something else, but you feel like you don't need that, we will work with you.
100%.
You know what I mean? We'll be happy to work with you because we want to work with you. That's the bottom line. So guys, continue sharing the show. Okay. The love and the support here recently has been awesome. Like I mentioned last week, there's still past episodes that are continuing to grow. We have a very exciting guest episode, hopefully next week, as long as no other schedule changes happen for the two of us.
Yeah.
We have a very exciting guest coming up next week that we've been trying to get on. She is a very, very, how do I want to say this? She's well known here in the St. Louis area, especially by a lot of our people, that we interact with and whatnot. And she's going to have a lot of really, really good things to say. It's going to be a very, very fun conversation. So we're really looking forward to that one. Again, that should be next week. But guys, continue sharing the show. Share it to Instagram stories. Share it around. Text it to your friends and family. The more and more the show gets shared, the more and more the YouTube gets posted, the more we grow, the more guests we can get on, the better equipment we can bring, the better content we can bring to you guys. So, guys, just keep up the love and support. It is always much, much appreciated. And, guys, until next time, peace and love.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.